gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's September the 28th, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented this morning by Ware, your headquarters for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. Ware has the largest Cane store ever created, packed with Canes merchandise. We'll be talking more about them later in the show, but Ware is where you can get everything you need Miami Hurricanes, and you can visit their store at 2655 South University Drive or visit them on the internet at canesware.com. All right, Matt, we got an open weekend coming up. Lots of time for people to go shop at Ware and fill up their closets with Canes merchandise to get ready for the second 2/3 of the season, which will come very quickly here with Georgia Tech coming to Hard Rock Stadium a week from Saturday. But today we have yet another result of locking you in your lab and making you watch film and asking you to come out with some great revelations. And today we go inside the Miami Hurricanes defensive numbers, which lays bare to the successes and also tells us quite a bit about where the Hurricanes need to improve as they go forward in the season. So, Lance Guidry came to Miami with a reputation for being an aggressive coach, not too dissimilar to Manny Diaz, who, by the way, has one of the top defenses in the country this year at Penn State. They believe in disrupting plays. They don't believe in sitting back, letting the offense dictate to them and shred them. Today's offenses, they're just too good for that. Lance Guidry, we've seen 4 games of him, and I think that we could accept that he does, when he's using his schemes like he did in the Texas A&M game, confuse opposing offenses and create those disruptive plays. Miami has 27 tackles for losses in the first 4 games this year. They have 10 sacks. Not getting many, though, and we'll talk about this, with a traditional 4-man rush with the defensive linemen. They have 4 interceptions, and they have one of which shouldn't have been intercepted. I've been through that already this week. And 3 fumble recoveries. Matt, let's start with the stats. I'll throw in there that they rank number 2 in the nation against the run, giving up just 43 yards a game. They're number 12 in scoring defense, giving up 12.5 points. Number 13 in total defense, giving up 273 yards. Number 58 in third down defense, allowing just 37.5%. And number 66 in passing yards allowed at 225. And only that high, quite frankly, because of the quality of competition. The Miami pass defense has not been great so far this season. Part of that could be due to Cam Kinchens being out. Part of that could just be due to guys not playing as well as they are going to need to play in the second 2/3 of the season. So, Matt, they say stats are for losers. In this case, they kind of tell the story.
I don't know who told you stats are for losers. But I don't think that's a saying. But I will say that there was a lot of hubbub. I didn't tape the show with you when you talked about the Corey Couch. But everyone was hammering you, how could you be so, ridiculous? I mean, to Corey, the ball's thrown to him. It's his training. He intercepted the ball, and there was a silly 15-yard penalty, but they were having fun. They were having a good time. In that situation, okay, maybe. But if this was a close game, if Miami was down by 2 points, right, at the end of a game, and you have a chance to, not that the team would go for it on 4th down in that situation, but if you have a chance, or a tie game or whatever, who knows, a chance to get better field position, you're going to do that against a good opponent in a good game. If they go for it, early in the game from there was an NFL game I was watching. I don't know where I couldn't believe they went for it. The Dolphins went for it on 4th and 1 from their own 35, with like a 11-point lead, I think, right? Am I right about that? I think it was the Dolphins game. Something like that. If he threw the ball 20 yards down the field, and the DB intercepts it and there's a penalty instead of just knocking the ball down, fans would be in an uproar. But because the game was over, because, fans want to be able to have some stats that they never usually have, everyone gave you a hard time. I personally think that training shouldn't be to intercept every ball. Training should be to understand, the situation in the game. And I get it. The game was over. So great. He intercepted it. But, you do like to see guys do the right thing for their team and not for themselves all the time. But anyway, back to this. This wasn't really going to the lab. We already talked about yesterday going to the lab and doing the breakdown of the secondary. And, people were quick on the website.
Stop it. I keep telling everybody you're spending your days in the lab. Why are you disputing that?
Yeah. The lab's for losers.
No, not yeah. You
Stats aren't for losers. Stats aren't for losers. The lab's for losers. Someone came on the website yesterday and they said, why are you bringing us down? Let us just enjoy this 4-0 start. Why are you showing us film of all the mistakes that are being made in the secondary in those two halves? To which I responded, F you. No, to which I responded, this is what we do. We say how great things are, and then we say, here are some caveats. Here are some things that they need to work on. It's okay to have things to work on. We're 4 games in. 3 of them were gimme wins. So give me a break. I know fans think Miami would have lost to Miami, Ohio last year. Who knows? Last year's team was awful. Last year's team almost wanted to lose, it seemed like sometimes. But any decent team was going to win those 3 games, period. Just an average ACC team was going to win those 3 games. And then beating Texas A&M was the cherry on top so far. But as far as this story that we're talking about right now, this was more going inside the numbers is what this was. If you want to say it's going inside the numbers, my lab is full of numbers. I don't know how you would even rephrase it. But basically what I looked at is, why is Miami ranking so well against the run? And yeah, Miami's middle of the pack in pass defense. But let's just take a look at maybe some of the reasons why the defense is perhaps, is better than last year for sure. And perhaps really, really good, or perhaps not so good. So let's take a look. So I went into Pro Football Focus. I went into NCAA rankings. I went into the general numbers compared to last year and things like that. And you guys can read all about it. But, one of the more interesting things I saw was that Pro Football Focus noted that Miami's missing 5.5 tackles per game this year. And last year, the team was missing 11.1 tackles per game. Okay. So that's a lot less yards in the run game that Miami's going to give up. And also in the pass game. And in the pass
I'm
game,
going to throw in there, Matt, that I think the tackling this year has been the best that we've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't put a number on it, but it's been a lot of years since we've seen the Miami defense tackle as well as they have so far this year.
Yeah. And yards after catch is 24 yards less than a year ago. So if you add 24 yards to what Miami already has in its pass defense, Miami would be probably 100th in the nation, in pass defense. So yeah, so those are 2 really interesting numbers compared to last year that sort of show the tackling has made a huge, huge difference. Now, again, I hate to bring up the caveats, but you'll see more missed tackles against better players, right? If you have a 5-star outstanding running back who is powerful and fast and twitchy, there's going to be some more missed tackles than against a Miami, Ohio or a Bethune-Cookman running back who's slower, goes down easier on first contact, et cetera, et cetera. That's just the nature of the beast. But still, those numbers cannot be discounted, okay? There's clearly much better tackling this year than a year ago. It's clear when we see the ACC schedule come in and, you see the Clemson running back and some of these other teams play Miami, then we'll really get a better sense for, yeah, man, like we're for real. The tackling, the coaching is so much better, and we're there. Everyone wants to put the cart before the horse, to use an expression Gary grew up using. Everyone wants to do that and just say, okay, the defense is solved from last year. Lance Guidry has fixed every problem. The offense is the greatest thing we've had since Ken Dorsey. And maybe it is, but I'm a reporter, right? And I'm not sold until I see them do it against the really good teams. And you could argue Texas A&M was a really good team, but again, we're all 4 games into the season. Every team is 4 games into the season. Worst case scenario, Miami was going to have 1 loss at this point. Okay. They won that game. Let's wait. Let's wait for Georgia Tech, North Carolina, and then come back to me. And I could say, wow. Or I could say, listen, I saw some of this coming on the film we broke down, and these were some of the problems. They didn't fix them. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm going to throw out something here that supports what you're talking about. I don't know why
I would it's good or bad.
I don't know why I would ever do this. I don't know why I would ever support anything you're saying, but this does kind of support it. Like last year when the defense was just not very good, they still had 9 players that graded out for the season at a 70 or above by the Pro Football Focus measuring system. And that's about average, slightly above average is 70. Okay. This year, so far, they only have 7 players that are grading at an average of over 70. So these are independent people who are totally objective, who have no biases whatsoever, who are grading every single play of every game, and they're not overwhelmed by the Miami defense so far. And so when Matt throws out, hey, there are areas where things could get better, he's right. I mean, he is right. Oh my God, I can't believe I said that either. No, he's right. And, I think that it doesn't mean that he's trying to be negative or anything. It's just he's giving you an honest analysis.
Yeah, I just want to wait and see what happens. That's all I'm asking for. Wait and see what happens, because we don't know. Like, everyone wants to say, we already know. We already know. Lance Guidry's the greatest coordinator here since whatever, and Shannon Dawson's the greatest coordinator here ever. And you could say that. It's nice to say it and believe it, but when you put on your objectivity hat, you just got to wait. You got to wait a couple more games. Like, just give me a couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks. That's all I ask. Anyway, so
let me throw this out too. Like, this is startling to me. Okay, so overall defensive players. If I said to you, Matt, I will give you $1 million if you tell me who is the top graded Miami defensive player, and you didn't know the answer, there is no chance that your answer would be Thomas Score. Now, he's only has 79 reps, but when he has been out there, he has been playing well, and they like what they're seeing. They've given him an 84.1 grade, which is considerably above average. I'll tell you who's number 2, the true freshman, Ruben Bain. Also, absolutely amazing. He's graded out 83.3 in 119 reps. Now, another number that's kind of interesting is if you said to me, Matt, if I, or I said to you, we could discuss this either way. What do you think of the way Leonard Taylor has played so far this season? I would say he's been okay. He hasn't been terrible. Hasn't really stood out that much. Hasn't been off the charts great. I would say he's just been okay. I don't have any memorable Leonard Taylor moments from the first 4 games. What would you say? Without cheating and getting to my next point.
Well, okay. Well, you're misrepresenting everything, because
no, I'm not, because I'm going to qualify it all in a minute. I'm just saying, if you were blind and you didn't know the numbers, and
but the numbers are wrong. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. The numbers are.
Listen to me. I'm talking about just the eyes, just what your eyes have seen watching the games. Okay.
Maybe if you actually listen to me,
I don't want you to give away the stats or anything, or the numbers, or the grades, the stats. I don't want you to give away anything.
Okay, then go ahead. I don't know what else to tell you.
I'm asking you a very, very pointed, controlled question here that I want you to answer. If I said to you, Matt, judged by your eyes, what you've seen from Leonard Taylor so far this season, I just told you what my thoughts would be. What are yours?
The last 2 games he's been great. The first 2 games he wasn't, and the grades back that up. He just happens to be off the charts against 2 really bad teams, which skews everything. Thomas Gore started playing more reps the last 2 games because of injuries. He didn't. Texas A&M, he graded out. I have it right here. Thomas Gore graded out at 64.6% against Texas A&M, and he only played 18 reps. So when you're playing all your reps against Bethune-Cookman and grade out at 87%, like, you guys have to understand how the reps are graded. Okay. If you dominate your opponent on that snap, you're getting a really good grade. And when you're playing an opponent who's tiny, who you can shove around the entire game, you're going to get an 86 and 90% grade, which is what Leonard got against Bethune and what Thomas Gore got against Bethune. And that skews it when you only played 4 games, and in particular with Thomas Gore when you barely played the first 2 games. So I don't know what you want me to tell you. No, Thomas Gore wasn't good the first 2 games. Okay. He graded out at 75 and playing barely any reps in 64. Leonard Taylor graded out at 46 and 68 the first 2 games, and then he dominates Bethune and Temple, who have really bad.
Okay, so you're making my point. He has not been great. Okay,
no, the first 2 games, neither of them the first 2 games. The last 2 games, they've both been great against inferior offensive linemen, for sure.
Okay, but you know that Leonard Taylor is tied for the most quarterback pressures in the nation from an interior defensive lineman. He's had 15 quarterback pressures. Now, most of them might have come against Bethune-Cookman and Temple. No argument. But
I actually spoke to someone over at Pro Football Focus about that. It turns out Leonard's mom called them and asked them to put him as tied for the lead. So I don't know how accurate that is, but yeah, I mean, look, he's a great player. When he asserts himself, he's a great player. Nobody has ever said Leonard Taylor is not a great player. He is a first-round NFL talent. There is no doubt about it. When he asserts himself, there is nobody better in the ACC at defensive tackle, nobody more athletic, combination of strength and quickness off the line than Leonard Taylor, in my opinion. I mean, he's outstanding. He's always been playing a full game of reps and being dominant every snap. That's always been his issue.
I just don't understand why we don't see it more. I still, to this day, now we're in a third season of this, and we don't see it more, and I don't get it. Like I don't understand it. But so another thing that I wanted to throw out there is, we've talked about our concerns about the pass rush when they're not blitzing. Okay, right now, true freshman Ruben Bain is tops on the team with 3 hits on the quarterback. Okay, no other. Now Messidor's been hurt for a couple games. He probably would have done better than 3 after 4 games. I feel fairly confident about that. But the point is, without Messidor in there, the pass rush has been very, very average. Nothing spectacular. And really, if you go to the eye test again and you're thinking about memorable moments with your eyes, it would have been the Texas A&M game where they were blitzing from all over the place. That first half against Texas A&M was a Lance Guidry coaching clinic. I mean, he took one of the best offensive staffs in football, one of the best offensive play callers in college football, and he made them mere mortals, man. I mean, Lance Guidry owned the first half against Texas A&M for sure. They got some yards in the second half, no argument. But, so I think that we will see more of that the rest of the season as they get into conference play. Lance Guidry will unleash his schemes a little bit more than he has the last couple of weeks against Bethune and Temple. But that said, there is room for improvement in pass rush. There is room for improvement in pass coverage. And any suggestion that Matt, who was locked in a lab, like I said, to look at film and evaluate and bring it to us in a very eloquent way as he did, there's nobody that could say that he's not doing his job at a very high level, because what he is seeing is absolutely the truth, and nobody should feel threatened by it. They're 4 games into the season, and they should be focused on what they're not doing well and what they can do better. And I feel pretty comfortable assuring everybody that that's what's been going on this week in practice as they conduct drills Tuesday, Wednesday, and again this morning.
Yeah, what do you want to say,
Matt?
What do you want to say? What do you want to talk about?
Donuts? Whatever other conclusions you have about the defense.
I mean, look, we've studied it in depth. I've already said it. The jury's out. You just got to wait. I mean, I'm sold on the offense. I'm not sold yet on the defense. I think that getting the 3 starting defense linemen back, getting Cam Kinchin's back, will make a huge difference. But notwithstanding that, I mean, we just have to wait and see. Injuries are part of the game. Like, everyone's always like, oh, well, this guy's gonna be back, that guy's gonna be back. Every team's gonna have injuries. Teams have already lost their starting quarterbacks. Texas A&M lost their starting quarterback. Every game in ACC week to week, there's going to be a starter who's not going to play the next week. I can already tell you that, because that's what happens every year for Miami. If you make it from one game to the next with everybody healthy, fully healthy, it's a miracle. This is just what happens. So, fans who are bemoaning, oh, well, if we had these guys, if we had that guy, if we had this guy, that's the way it is every year. That's why you need championship level talent across the board. And yeah, if they get a couple of defense linemen back, it's going to help tremendously, especially Akeem Messidor. He's a difference maker.
No doubt.
So we just have to, again, just let's wait for the Georgia Tech game for the defense, because that'll tell us a lot. That quarterback, Haynes King, is really a really good quarterback. He's thrown 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He can run the ball. They have a much better offensive scheme this year with him. Are their receivers great? No. Do they have a great running game? Not really. I've been watching some of the running back tape. They'll get 10 or 11 yards. They're not these breakaway physical threats. But they're good enough. So it'll give us an idea, because if Georgia Tech puts up a lot of yards against Miami through the air, what's going to happen at North Carolina? What's going to happen at Florida State? These are the questions that I think of. Instead of just fixating on the 4-0 start and everything's amazing, I think to the future, and I think about that. So I think we'll get a really good inclination against Georgia Tech if Lance Guidry has really drawn up some stuff that teams are going to have a real problem answering, because it's not just one defense he runs. He runs a lot of different stuff. I mean, he can throw a ton of things at you, and it's great to see that the Miami defensive players seem to grasp most of it. So it'll be really interesting also off the bye to see what he's added and some of maybe what he's taken out, because clearly when you guys watched the tape from yesterday morning, clearly there are some things that these guys just don't understand to do correctly, and I'm sure he's going to eliminate some of those or try to make them understand it better what to do on those plays.
All right, so it's an open week, so obviously a lot of the news of the day is centering around recruiting, and we obviously have a lot of recruiting coverage on the website today. No story more important than our story on Moultrie, Georgia, Colquitt County 4-star 2020-24 receiver Nye Carr. And you've heard us talk about him the last day or two on the website, I think on the show. He decommitted from Georgia this past Sunday, and now it's a stampede. He's a very good player. Florida State's after him, Penn State's after him, Tennessee, Colorado, Auburn, whole bunch of schools, more, obviously, and more than that. But we have a story this morning on the website reporting that there's one program that's currently at the top of his list, and that's the Miami Hurricanes. You can read all about it on the website here this morning. This is a kid who's the number 62 overall prospect in the On3 industry rankings, and very significant that he decided here in the middle of the game to make himself available to all suitors. And Miami quickly jumped in there, and they sent Cody Woodall up to Colquitt to visit Carr's school. And so Miami is smack in the middle of this mix now. And, Matt, I think it's a very good sign that you could take a top prospect like this and, suddenly out of nowhere start recruiting him. And within a couple days, he's saying that you're at the top of the heap in terms of all the schools that are after him. I mean, I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, look, people were freaking out, remember, early in the recruiting process. Why is Miami taking all these 3-stars, It's always been about how you close. And there's going to be, if Miami keeps playing the way it's playing, there's going to be a lot of guys who want to come join this program with good reason. And you could see in the interview, Zuby did a great job on the story with Nye Carr, talking to him. And Carr made it very clear that he's very impressed by what he's seeing in this Miami offense and how he can fit into it. So you're going to see people really, I think want to be a part of it. And, the big one, obviously, is Jeremiah Smith, and the big question, because that guy from day one is going to be a major, major, major playmaker. It's great to get these other guys. Like Nye Carr, yeah, it's great. Like, these guys can all be great. But Jeremiah Smith is the guy that I think, a year ago, I put in the Mark Fletcher prediction when he was committed to Ohio State. I'm not doing that for Jeremiah Smith, okay? But if this offense keeps going well, if the Ohio State receivers coach, Brian Hartline, winds up leaving, which he very well may, to me, Hartline's the key. If Hartline doesn't stay there, then Jeremiah Smith will be a Miami Hurricane. Miami is the number 2 school on his list. And if something happens with Ohio State, he'll be staying home. So that's going to be really interesting to monitor. And Miami will try to make a run at him late with NIL, with whatever they have to do. And it'll help if the offense keeps looking like it looks. And if he gets to see Emory Williams a little bit, because Emory Williams is going to be really, really good, I think. So if he comes to some practices and sees Emory throw and gets to know Emory a little bit, these are all key factors. And it's why having top talent home is so important, because they can just drive down the street, and get to know some of these Miami Hurricanes players, and maybe they'll want to be a part of it.
All right, so you guys can check out the latest on Nye Carr. We have that update on the website this morning, and that'll be an interesting one to watch here in the coming days. Got a couple more stories that we want to talk about, but first, let me take a minute here and talk to you guys about Ware. And football season's in full swing, and that means things are rocking and rolling at Ware and Davie, where they have a larger store in the same shopping plaza that you've been accustomed to shopping from for all these years. Well, now they've moved a little bit to the left. They're right next to the sub shop I'm not going to name anymore, because Zuby pointed out to me that I'm giving them a ton of free advertising, and they're not an advertiser, but they're right there in the same plaza. They got this massive store. T-shirts, jerseys, polos, hoodies, hats, flags, decals, magnets, anything that you could possibly want Miami Hurricanes, they probably have there at CaneSport. And, if you're going to the Georgia Tech game next week and you want to tailgate, they'll even hook you up with tables, chairs, everything that you need. Not the food for your tailgate at Hard Rock Stadium. If you're a fan of the Dolphins, the Panthers, Inter Miami Soccer, they got gear from those teams as well. So it's a great time to go to CaneSport and just get stocked up, man. Load yourself up with Cane stuff and maybe some stuff for Sundays as well of the other teams. And the Panthers will be resuming their Stanley Cup, defense, the defense of their run to the Stanley Cup here pretty soon. So even Panther gear can come in handy. Go to CaneSport, where they are more than a store. It is an experience to walk in that place, and especially in that new expanded location that makes them the largest Cane store ever created with the largest selection that you've ever seen. So they're at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, 2655 South University Drive in Davie. Say what, about 15 minutes or so north of Hard Rock Stadium, right there on University Drive. So go check them out. If you can't make it to the store, go on the internet to canesware.com. You can shop their store 24 hours a day. They got a great website. So visit the store, 2655 South Dixie Highway in Davie, or go to canesware.com for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. All right. Moving on here. We've got a couple interesting recruiting stories. We talked to the coach of Miami four-star commit, Elias Rudolph, who's making an impact on and off the field in the first half of the season. You can check that story out and get up to date on that. We have a story on how Miami remains very much on the radar for an Indiana four-star tight end who is looking to take a game day visit here in the near future. There should be a lot of good games at Hard Rock here, and guys like this Brock Schott kid that I'm talking about, and some of these other top recruits. It's going to be significant to get them there. And now hopefully, the crowds turn out and make it a great atmosphere, because that will enhance recruiting. And I think they will. I think the Canes Nation is going to rise up behind this team. The Canes beat Georgia Tech. They're going to be 5-0 going into the North Carolina game. And I think people are going to be plenty fired up at what they're seeing from these kids from this program here in year 2 of Mario Cristobal. The Canes are also pushing for an uncommitted top 125 cornerback with plans to get back down to Coral Gables sometime soon. His name is Jamari Howard. He is from Miami Norland High School. So we've got an update on him today. Let's see. We spoke to the coach at Chaminade about four-star safety commit Saquon Patterson, who says that his guy couldn't be playing better in the first 5 games of the year. He gives him an A+. You've seen us throwing around a lot of A+++++ lately. That's like a Stephen Wagner thing. But Saquon Patterson gets all the pluses for sure. He has been playing great football, and we've got a story on his start of the season from his coach's point of view. Beyond that, we've got our Tracking the Miami Hurricanes Commits feature. You could catch up on what all the commits have been doing in their high school games. So make sure you check in on that. And then if you missed the Lamar Thomas show last night, we have the replay on the website today. You can go back and watch that and check out everything that was going on Lamar's show last night. So that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. We thank you so much for starting out your morning with us. Kept it short and sweet for you today. Didn't let Matt get too long-winded. If you're on YouTube and you like this show, like our channel, hit your subscribe and like buttons. Helps us grow our audience on YouTube. If you're on the CaneSport.com site watching, it probably means that you're a subscriber. But if you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please, your subscriptions allow us to do what we do every single day. We've got a team of about 6 people that are working really, really hard to enhance your fan experience. And we appreciate it greatly if you subscribe to our site and allow us to continue staffing at a high level and traveling at a high level and doing everything that we do to make our site as good as we can for you guys every single day. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you so much for joining us again, everybody, and we will see you next time.